Hey everybody, it's EK from EK Gorman Designs, and I am popping in because I am doing a little experimenting in my art journal for card makers. It's a book I created some time ago to kind of play around with ideas of how to play with mediums, but in a sense for card making. Not just for like art journaling or mixed media, but how to pull different mediums into more card making. This is a watercolor book. If you've missed either how I made the book or a couple of my other projects, I'll link them here so you can see. But I've got a bunch of Distress Oxide Reinkers, and I've been trying to experiment with different ways to play with them to, I don't know, just see if there's more than just reinking my pad with them. So right now I've got two different colors that I've sprayed down with water and I'm letting run all over the watercolor paper, just in the attempts to see how far you can push the medium. And I'll be real honest, it's really fun. I really enjoy what's happened here. It's kind of chaos, but we're able to take that. I'm able to take that chaos and push it a little bit back to kind of a mainstream look. I have way too much Reinker on the page, and I lost a lot of the orange, which kind of bums me out. I ended up dropping some more yellow Fossilized Amber into the page just to push the color around a little bit, and with using I was never going to get it dry. I was never going to get it to dry. So I pulled out a paper towel and actually blotted off the really heavy spots. And in that process, lightened it up and really, really started to like what was going on here. I wanted a fall-inspired page, just so I pulled out this really big stamp set from Stampendous and stamped it out onto the page. What's interesting about the stamp is the entire inside of it's hollow. So you can pull it long and make it a long, thin stamp set, or not stamp set, long, thin stamp, or you can squash it up together and make it a lot more fat of a leaf, which gives the stamp set a whole bunch of versatility I didn't think it had prior to starting playing with it. So I stamped the big stamp out right there in the field, and now you can see how big it is. It takes up almost this entire page. And then I did it again, but this time intentionally only letting the bottom of the stamp set get inked up. So, as I said, you can go long and thin with it. Well, here I'm repositioning it and trying to make it more fat and squash up a leaf. And I'm able to stamp it out on this bottom corner. I pull out a couple other images from the stamp set, or stamps from the stamp set, and just kind of stamp them around the page to break up some of that background and help the stamped images pull forward. I wasn't certain I was ever going to be able to get beyond what was in the background and push it up. And at the moment, I still think the Reinker is really what's catching your eyes here and not the inked images. But in a minute, I think I'm able to pull it back. I'm a dip sometimes and forget that there's an edge to this page, and you've got to position your stamps in a really funny position just to keep it from hitting the edge and stamping bad. And we all know, if you've ever watched my videos, I am not the world's best stamper. So I'm sure no one is surprised by me having to reposition the leaf stamp in multiple ways because of my inability to recognize that I would stamp it badly. Like I said, I think the Reinker is still what's predominant, so I pulled out some Scattered Straw Distress ink and this stencil in the vain hope that a little stenciling onto the project would actually help push back the color. Needless to say, I did not pick nearly a vibrant enough color to help shove back the Reinker. But when I pulled out the Rusty Hinge Distress ink, I think I was able to really start to push back some of that bold, bright color from the Reinker and bring forth the stamping that I did to help distress and grunge up everything. I just splattered a bunch of Distress Oxide-Spray onto my paper, and it almost completely disappears, but it helps again break up a lot of that red and orange. I knew I needed to highlight the stamping just a little bit more, so I pulled out my Inktense pencils if you're not familiar with ink tints, it colors like a colored pencil, but it's India ink, so when you wet it down and it dries, it becomes permanent. So I can continue putting more watery layers onto this page, and if the ink tint is dry, it's actually not going to move, which is one of the great things about laying it down on top of a page like this, because I can continue adding water mediums to it and not worry about it disappearing and moving. So I laid just a bunch of green into the leaves and pulled out my water pen, my water brush? Oh, words. Always so hard to find. But just using a actually really simple technique, I was able to color the leaves. And yes, something went wrong and I lost footage. It's just been an interesting series of days. I keep like coming and sitting at my computer and chunks are missing and I'm not really certain what's happening, except for maybe I am incompetent. That's my latest guess, is that I'm just a dip and didn't realize I wasn't recording. I don't know. We're going to forgive and let go, because you're not really missing anything except for a continuing of me pushing this India ink, or my ink tints pencil, onto the coloring. And I like how it's still transparent and you're still seeing the work that's under it, but you're also gaining some more color onto the leaf, making it a lot more visually interesting, I guess. This, for the main focal leaf, I added a variety of colors, really hoping to pull out the leaf and make it the highlight of the project. And I think the green really worked well. I like that you can still see the stenciling underneath through the leaf. It's like pulling up, despite the fact I've now layered multiple layers on top of it. The page needed some kind of bordering. This wasn't quite right. It needed bordering and this wasn't the right one to do. But nonetheless, it's what I did. Now I know better. The page needed a sentiment, so I pulled out this fun one from 13 Art. And there you go, another page in my art journal for card makers. I am definitely going to try this Reinker technique on some actual cardstock for an actual card. So stay tuned and I hopefully will share it soon. Let me know in the comments below which of the techniques you saw today was the most interesting. And until then, happy crafting!